Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to MEA'S place. Today we're going to do some devotional reading in the book of Nehemiah, chapter 13. But before that, let's go to the MacArthur Study Bible right here and look into some study notes on the book of Nehemiah to get some background information into the book of Nehemiah. And I'm going to start by the title. Nehemiah, Jehovah Comforts, is a famous cupbearer who never appears in scripture outside of this book. As with the books of Ezra and Esther, named after his contemporaries, see introductions to Ezra and Esther. The book recounts selected events of his leadership and was titled after him. Both the Greek Septuagint LXX and the Latin Vulgate named this book Second Ezra, even though the two books of Ezra and Nehemiah are separate in most English Bibles. They may have once been joined together in a single unit, as currently in the Hebrew text. New Testament writers do not quote Nehemiah. Author and date. Though much of this book was clearly drawn from Nehemiah's personal diaries and written from his first-person perspectives, 1 through 7, 5, 12:27 through 43, 13, 4 through 31, both Jewish and Christian traditions recognize Ezra as the author. This is based on external evidence that Ezra and Nehemiah were originally one book as reflected in the LXX and Vulgate. It is also based on eternal evidence, such as the recurrent hand of the Lord theme, which dominates both Ezra and Nehemiah, and the author's role as a priest scribe. As a scribe, he had access to the royal archives of Persia, which accounts for the myriad of administrative documents found recorded in the two books, especially in the book of Ezra. Very few people would have been allowed access to the royal archives of the Persian Empire, but Ezra proved to be the exception. This marks Ezra 1, 2 through 4, 4, 9 through 22, 5, 7 through 17, 6, 3 through 12. The events in Nehemiah first 1 commence late in the year 446 BC, the 20th year of the Persian king Artaxerxes, 464 through 423 BC. The book follows chronologically from Nehemiah's first term as governor of Jerusalem, 445 through 433 BC, Nehemiah 1 through 12, to his second term, possibly beginning 424 BC, Nehemiah 13. Nehemiah was written by Ezra sometime during or after Nehemiah's second term, but no later than 400 BC. Okay, we're getting into the background and setting. True to God's promise of judgment, he brought the Assyrians and Babylonians to deliver his chastisements upon wayward Judah and Israel. In 722 BC, the Assyrians deported the 10 northern tribes and scattered them all over the then known world, 2 Kings 17. Several centuries later, 605 to 586 BC, God used the Babylonians to sack, destroy, and nearly depopulate Jerusalem. 2 Kings 25. Because Judah had persisted in her unfaithfulness to the covenant, God chastened his people with 70 years of captivity in Babylon. Jeremiah 25:11. During the Jews' captivity, world empire leadership changed hands from the Babylonians to the Persians. 539 BC. Daniel 5, after which Daniel received most of his prophetic revelation. Daniel 6:9 through 12. The book of Ezra begins with the decree of Cyrus, a Persian king, to return God's people to Jerusalem to rebuild God's house, 539 BC, and chronicles the reestablishment of Judah's national calendar of feasts and sacrifices. Zerubbabel and Joshua led the first return, Ezra 1 through 6, and rebuild the temple. Esther gives a glimpse of the Jews left in Persia, 43 through 473 BC. When Haman attempted to eliminate the Jewish race, Ezra 7 through 10 recounts the second return led by Ezra in 458 BC. Nehemiah chronicles the third return to rebuild the wall around Jerusalem, 545 BC. At that time in Judah's history, the Persian Empire dominated the entire Near Eastern world. Its administration of Judah, although done with a loose hand, was mindful of disruptions or any signs of rebellion from its vassals. Rebuilding the walls of conquered cities posed the most glaring threat to the Persian central administration. Only a close confidant of the king himself could be trusted for such an operation. At the most critical juncture in Judah's revelation, God raised up Jeremiah to exercise one of the most trusted roles in the empire, the king's cupbearer and confidant. Life under the Persian king Artaxerxes 464 through 423 BC had its advantages for Nehemiah. Much like Joseph, Esther, and Daniel, he had attained a significant role in the palace, which then ruled the ancient world, a position from which God could use him to lead the rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls, in spite of its implications for Persian control of that city. Several other historical notes are of interest. First, Esther was Artaxerxes' stepmother, see note on Esther 1:9, and could have easily influenced him to look favorably upon the Jews, especially Nehemiah. Second, Daniel's prophetic 70 weeks began with the decree to rebuild the city issued by Artaxerxes in 445 BC, chapters 1 and 2. See notes on Daniel 9:24 through 26. Third, the Elephantine papyri, Egyptian documents dated to the late 5th century BC, support the account of Nehemiah by mentioning Sanballat, the governor of Samaria, 2:19. Jehonan and Nehemiah's being replaced as governor of Jerusalem by Bigtha, and I apologize ahead of time if I mispronounce any of these names. 410 BC, Nehemiah 10:16. Finally, Nehemiah and Malachi represent the last of the Old Testament canonical writings, both in terms of the time the events occurred, chapter 13, Malachi 1 through 4, and the time when they, both in terms of the time the events occurred, in chapters 13. Oh, I skipped a line. In chapter 13, Malachi 1 through 4, and the time when they were recorded by Ezra. Thus, the next messages from God for Israel do not come until over 400 years of silence had passed, after which the births of John the Baptist and Jesus Christ were announced in Matthew 1, Luke 1 and 2. With the full Old Testament revelation of Israel's history prior to Christ's incarnation being completed, the Jews had not yet experienced the fullness of God's various covenants and promises to them. While they were as Jewish remnant as promised to Abraham, Genesis 15:5, it does not appear to be even as large as at the time of the Exodus, Numbers 146. The Jews neither possessed the land in Genesis 15:7, nor did they rule as a sovereign nation, Genesis 12:2. The Davidic throne was unoccupied in 2 Samuel 7:16. Although the high priest was of the line of Eleazar and Phinehas, Numbers 25:10 through 13, God's promise to consummate the new covenant of redemption awaited the birth, crucifixion, and resurrection of Messiah in Hebrews 7 through 10. Historical and theological themes. Careful attention to the reading of God's Word in order to perform His will is a constant theme. The spiritual revival came in response to Ezra's reading of the book of the Law of Moses in 8:1. After the reading, Ezra and some other priests carefully explained its meaning to the people in attendance in 8:8. The next day, Ezra met with some of the fathers of the households, the priests and the Levites, in order to understand the words of the law. In 8:13, the sacrificial system was carried on with careful attention to perform it as it is written in the law in 10:34 and 36. So deep was their concern to abide by God's revealed will that they took a curse with an oath to walk in God's law. That's in 10:29. When the marriage reforms were carried out, they acted in accordance with that which they read from the book of Moses in 13:1. A second major theme, the obedience of Nehemiah, is explicitly referred to throughout the book due to the fact that the book is based on the memoirs or first-person accounts of Nehemiah. God worked through the obedience of Nehemiah. However, he also worked through the wrongly motivated wicked hearts of his enemies. Nehemiah's enemies failed, not so much as a result of the success of Nehemiah's strategies, but because God had brought their plot to nothing in 4:15. God used the opposition of Judah's enemies to drive his people to their knees in the same way that he used the favor of Cyrus to return his people to the land, to fund their building project, and to even protect the reconstruction of Jerusalem's walls. Not surprisingly, Nehemiah acknowledged the true motive of his strategy to repopulate Jerusalem. My God put it into my heart in 7:5. It was he who accomplished it. Another theme in Nehemiah, as in Ezra, in opposition, Judah's enemies started rumors that God's people had revolted against Persia. The goal was to intimidate Judah into forestalling reconstruction of the walls. In spite of the opposition from without and heartbreaking corruption and dissension from within, Judah completed the walls of Jerusalem in only 52 days. And that's in 615. Experienced revival after the reading of the law by Ezra, and celebrated the Feast of Tabernacles in 445 BC. The book's detailed insight into the personal thoughts, motivates, and disappointments of Nehemiah makes it easy for the reader to primarily identify with him rather than the sovereign hand of God theme and the primary message of his control and intervention into the affairs of his people and their enemies. But the exemplary behavior of the famous cupbearer is eclipsed by God, who orchestrated the reconstruction of the walls. In spite of much opposition and many setbacks, the good hand of God theme carries through the book of Nehemiah. Interpretive challenges. First, much of Nehemiah is explained in relationship to Jerusalem's gates. This is in Nehemiah 2, 3, 8, and 12. One needs to see the map, Jerusalem in Nehemiah's day, for an orientation. Second, the reader must recognize that the timeline of chapters 1 through 12 encompassed about 1 year, 445 BC, followed by a long gap of time over 20 years after Nehemiah 12 and before Nehemiah 13. Finally, it must be recognized that Nehemiah actually served two governorships in Jerusalem. The first from 445 to 433 BC, and that's in Nehemiah 5:14 and 13:6, and the second beginning possibly in 424 BC and extending to no longer than 410 BC. Okay, that sheds a little light into the background of the book of Nehemiah. Now we're going to start reading. Do some devotional Bible reading in chapter 3 of Nehemiah. Okay. Rebuilding the wall. Chapter 3. Then Eliashib the high priest rose up with his brethren the priests and built the sheep gate. They consecrated it and hung its doors. They built as far as the Tower of the 100 and consecrated it. Then as far as the Tower of Hananel, next to Eliashib, the men of Jericho built, and next to them Zechariah the son of Ambriel built. Also, the sons of Hashenah built the fish gate. They laid its beams and hung its doors with its bolts and bars. And next to them, Meremoth, the son of Urijah, the son of Koz, made repairs. Next to them, Meshullam, the son of Berechiah, the son of Meshabel, made repairs. Next to them, Zadok, the son of Bana, made repairs. Next to them, the Tekoites made repairs. But their nobles did not put their shoulders to the work of their Lord. Moreover, Jehoiada, the son of Pashiah, and Meshullam, the son of Beshodiah, repaired the old gate. They laid its beams and hung its doors with its bolts and bars. And next to them, Melchiah, the Gibeonite, Jargon, the Meritzvite, the men of Gibeon and Mizpah repaired the residence of the governor of the region beyond the river. Next to him, Uzziel, the son of Harhaiah, one of the goldsmiths, made repairs. Also next to him, Hananiah, one of the perfumers, made repairs, and they fortified Jerusalem as far as the broad wall. And next to them, Rephaiah, the son of Hur, leader of half the district of Jerusalem, made repairs. Next to them, Jediah, the son of Harumphiel, made repairs in front of his house. And next to him, Hattush, the son of Hashubah, made repairs. Okay. Melchiah, the son of Haram, and Hashub, the son of Piath, Moab, repaired another section, as well as the tower of the ovens. And next to him was Shalom, the son of Halohesh, leader of half the district of Jerusalem. He and his daughters made repairs. Hanan and the inhabitants of Zanoah repaired the valley gate. They built it, hung its doors with its bolts and bars, and repaired 1,000 cubits of the wall as far as the refuse gate. Let's see. Machajah, the son of Rechab, leader of the district of Beth Hakerem, repaired the refuse gate. He built it and hung its doors with its bolts and bars. Shalom, the son of Kohazah, leader of the district of Mizpah, repaired the fountain gate. He built it, covered it, hung its doors with its bolts and bars, and repaired the wall of repaired the wall of the pool of Shiloh by the king's garden, as far as the stairs that go down from the city of David. After him, Nehemiah, the son of Asberg, leader of half the district of Beth Zur, made repairs as far as the place in front of the tombs of David. to the man-made pool, and as far as the house of the mighty. After him the Levites under Rehum the son of Bani made repairs. Next to him Hashabiah, leader of half the district of Keilah, made repairs for his district. After him their brethren under Bapha the son of Hedonad, leader of the other half of the district of Keilah, made repairs, and next to him Ezra the son of Jeshua, the leader of Mizpah, repaired another section in front of the accent to the armory at the buttress. After him Baruch the son of Zabai carefully repaired the other section from the buttress to the door of the house of Elizabeth. Excuse me if I mispronounce this name. Eliashib the high priest. After him Meremoth the son of Urijah the son of Kos repaired another section from the door of the house of Eliashib to the end of the house of Eliashib. And after him the priests, the men of the plain, made repairs. After him Benjamin and Hashab made repairs opposite their house. After them Hazariah the son of Maaseiah the son of Ananiah made repairs by his house. After him Benio the son of Henadad repaired and another section from the house of Azariah to the buttress, even as far as the corner. Palal the son of Uzal made repairs opposite the buttress and on the tower which projects from the king's upper house that was by the court of the prison. After him Pedaiah the son of Parosh made repairs. Moreover, the Nethium who dwelt in Ophel made repairs as far as the place in front of the water gate towards the east, and on the projecting tower. After them the Tekoites repaired another section next to the great projecting tower and as far as the wall of Ophel. Beyond the horse gate the priests made repairs, each in front of his own house. After them Zadok the son of Immer made repairs in front of his own house. After him Shemaiah the son of Shechaniah, the keeper of the east gate, made repairs. After him Hananiah the son of Shelemiah and Hanan the sixth son of Zaraph repaired another section. After him Meshullam the son of Berechiah made repairs in front of his dwelling. After him Malchijah, one of the goldsmiths, made repairs as far as the house of the Nethium and of the merchants, in front of the Mephraket gate, and as far as the upper room at the corner, and between the upper room at the corner, as far as the sheep gate, the goldsmiths and the merchants made repairs. Now, let's go to the bottom side notes of the MacArthur Study Bible in chapter 3. Because there was a lot of names in here naming all of who that done the repairs of the wall the third time to Jerusalem. So I'm going to go down here to these study notes right here, chapter 3, and read from here. And it's saying a detailed account of rebuilding the wall is given. The grandson of Jeshua, the high priest in Zerubbabel's era, and this is talking about Eliashib, the high priest. And it's on the 4th of Ab, which will be August of 445 BC. And the sheep gate, this is located in the northeast section of Jerusalem. The narrative moves around the perimeter of Jerusalem in a counterclockwise direction. The Tower of the 100, Tower of the Hanel, this northern section of Jerusalem, opened up to the central Benjamin plateau where enemy forces could attack most easily from the north. The rest of the perimeter of the city was protected by the natural valley topography. Okay, the fish gate, so named because merchants sold fish on the northern side of Jerusalem. Men of Tyre and other coastal towns routinely brought fish to sell. Nobles did not put their shoulders to the work of their lord. On explanation beyond just the laziness of the rich is that these nobles that been pledged to Tobiah for personal gain. Okay. The old gate, believed to be in the northwest corner of Jerusalem. The broad wall on the western side of the northern sector. Tower of the Ovens on the western side of Jerusalem. The valley gate. Let's see. The refuse gate. Let's see. Pool of Shelah. And that's the king's garden in the southeast sector. Tombs of David, presumably in the southeast sector. House of the mighty, this location is probably associated with David's mighty men. The armory located on the eastern side of Jerusalem. And here at the bottom right over here, there's a graph right here where it says, 7 attempts to stop Nehemiah's work. And it's naming the first one was Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem mocked Nehemiah in 2:19. Sanballat and Tobiah mocked Nehemiah in chapters 4:1-3. The enemy threatened a military attack in chapters 4:7-23. Sanballat and Geshem attempted to lure Nehemiah outside of Jerusalem to Ono, chapter 6:1-4. Sanballat threatened Nehemiah with false charges in chapter 6:5-9. Um, Shemaiah, Noadiah, and others were paid to prophesy falsely and discredit Nehemiah. Chapter 6, 10 through 14. Tobiah had spies in Jerusalem and wrote Nehemiah letters in order to frighten him in chapter 6, 17 through 19. Okay, so that gives the 7 attempts to stop Nehemiah's work right here in this graph. Let's see. And I'm reading the bottom notes here of chapter 3 right here. Fell, an area south of the Temple Mount, near the water gate where the Nephilim lived. See, the water gate near the Gihon spring on the east side of Jerusalem. See, the horse gate in the northeast sector, the east gate possibly located in the east of the Temple Mount, the Mefkade gate in the northeast sector, the sheep gate having traveled around Jerusalem in a counterclockwise direction. The narrative ends where it began. Okay. And that's all of chapter 3's reading for today of rebuilding the Jerusalem walls and who was part of it. And I'm going to leave a link down below where you can get the MacArthur Study Bible down in the description below. Look for the link. And also I'm going to leave down at the description of the link some suits and some spring and summertime dresses down below. So check that out down at the description below. I hope you have enjoyed this devotional reading of the book of Nehemiah in chapter 3 today. And be sure to put a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. And until next time, God bless you in everything that you do.